What's up, everybody? Philly Soccer Page post-game show. I'm Mike Servideo here with Nick Fishman tonight, back from your Florida exile.
Yeah, it was a thing that happened. It's a place I was. That's the nice things I can say about it, I guess. But
But back here at Talon Energy Stadium for a 3-1 Union win over DC United. A dominant first half saw Casper Shabilko, Ilsinho, and someone else score.
Brendan Aronson.
Brendan Aronson score. One of the best first halves we've seen from this team all season.
It looked like they were playing a man up, and DC United could do nothing to even slow down the Union in that first half. It was a lot of crisp passing. Everything that they couldn't do against Chicago last week, they were this week. They were clinical. They were incisive. It was a completely different team than the team that lost 2-0 in Chicago last week.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Casper. I thought he was very impressive through the whole night. He ended up with a goal and 2 assists. We were delighted with the touch he had on that third goal to bring down a 40-yard Jamiro Montero play, and a really tidy finish on that first goal from the cross from Kai Wagner. I mean, he's double digits in goals. He's fifth in the league in scoring. This is a guy that we thought maybe feature for Bethlehem this year or be striker depth, and he's become irreplaceable in the field.
Yeah, Curtin talked about Shabilko as a top 5 forward in this league, and you almost have to start looking at him that way. He doesn't have the name. He's not as flashy. You can bring in Andrew Wooten, and he's still the man for the Union up top. He's consistent. He plays hard, and tonight you saw an all-around game that really the Union haven't had. Like, they had parts of it with Sapong last year where he could do the hold-up play but couldn't score the goals. He's a guy, like, I guess since Letou, they haven't had a forward of this quality that was just producing around the field and not just in one area.
It felt like Jim Curtin really got it wrong in Chicago last week. The lineup, maybe not the strongest that the team has fielded, and they just couldn't get going. He tweaks the formation to go to 4-2-3-1 today. He drops Marco Fabian. He brings Brendan Aronson and Ilsinho to start, and it worked.
It was a bunch of changes that I don't necessarily think we saw coming, but they made sense when you look back at it in retrospect. Fabian hasn't produced like we hope he would as fans of this team in the city. I mean, you have to hope that these changes kind of push him a little bit.
Yeah.
But at this point in the season, you have to go with your strongest 11, and right now he might not be part of it. What you see is Mark McKenzie back on the field, and that's a great thing for the Union if they can find some stability in that back line that's been suspect. Before we started this, you talked about those 4-0 collapses that have them behind Atlanta on goal differential. Now they also have a game in hand, but there is something to say, like, you can't keep hemorrhaging goals at the back if you want to be a top team in the East and win a playoff game and maybe win 2, maybe win 3.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about Brendan Aronson. He comes in, he starts on the left side of the three-man midfield. He scores a goal tonight. I think the criticism on Aronson over maybe the last 2 months is a little bit of lacking decision-making in the final third. I thought he looked decisive in the final third tonight. He was maybe a little bit unlucky to not draw a penalty, and I thought his goal was very well taken.
Yeah. It was nice. It looked like he didn't think about it, which is something that you can see Aronson do a little too often even.
Yeah.
Tonight he had maybe 1 or 2 moments where he took one extra touch in the box and kind of the play slipped away. But in general, going forward, when they were rushing, he knew what he was going to do with the ball without having to think about it. And for him, I think that's key. He needs to be incisive. He needs to not overthink what he's doing when he has time with the ball, I think, is when he struggles a little bit more. But tonight you saw the good Brendan Aronson, and hope it continues with Ali's suspension next week.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. You touched on Mark McKenzie. He starts his first match tonight. Aronson mentioned it in the locker room when we just talked to him that he thought McKenzie was immense tonight. I don't think he lost a tackle. It's been a little bit of a rotation through that left center back role where we saw Aurelian Collin the last couple of games. I thought McKenzie was very strong tonight. I'd be surprised if he doesn't start again next week.
He wasn't out of position at all tonight. I mean, one play that stands out to me is Ola Kamara kind of snuck behind, and it looked like it was going to be the start of a DC counter. Like, you could see it kind of kicking in the second gear, and he's there, knocks the ball away, and before there can even be a threat that he has to extinguish, he's already in position and he's putting out the fire. And that's what they haven't had at center back this year, and it's something they're going to need going forward with these matches against Atlanta, LAFC, NYFC.
You did mention it. I think probably the biggest negative of the night is Alejandro Bedoya picks up a yellow card, and now he's suspended through yellow card accumulation for the big match against Atlanta next Saturday. If they stick 4-2-3-1, Maybe you see Warren Creavalle come in, maybe go back to the midfield diamond, and you can bring Fabian back in at the 10. How do you see
Yeah,
it going?
Fabian come. I think that has to be the move. I mean, Creavalle makes sense. It seems like the safe pick, but you're playing at home. It's always weird to see a defensive substitution when you're playing at home. But Atlanta's a different animal than what they've faced in the last few weeks, and the way they're rolling, you might need to play a little more smartly. It's going to be a challenge, and it might not be sexy, but it might be the right move.
Yeah, you mentioned it. You haven't been here this season. Atmosphere pretty strong tonight. It was the biggest attendance we've had. Top of the Eastern Conference clash next week against Atlanta United. Atlanta's going to have a Tuesday night Open Cup final game, which is probably going to take quite a bit out of them. How big is playing Atlanta at home this late in the season next Saturday?
That's great. I'd love to hear a stat. I mean, first off, on the fans, I had the last 2 years when I was here covering the team, it didn't come close to the atmosphere tonight. I mean, it's the difference between being a fifth and a sixth place team, and I think what you're seeing out of the Union this season, so it goes hand in hand. The fans support the team. Maybe they're playing better, and maybe because the team's playing better, you have the fans who are turning out a little bit better. As far as Atlanta at home, they have a chance to be one of there have to be only a handful of teams, if any, ever have beaten every team in their conference. So to have Atlanta at home and the chance to beat them and then maybe NYCFC at the end of the season, you can do something that maybe hasn't been done in a little bit. And it's tough to look past this game, or even just make it smaller than it is, or like kind of minimize it, like it's one game. But it really feels like it could sum up what the Union are this year. If they can win that game, or if they get blown out, you look at it a different way.
We're looking forward to it. So we'll be back here next Saturday. Union take on Atlanta United for top of the Eastern Conference clash, and we'll see you then.